Ah, time for some silver. I think I have enough to make these two little turquoise pendants. These will be my back plates. This will be my bezel wire. This will be my detail wire. This will be for jump rings to put for the bail. I should be able to get 2 or 3 out of these. I have another one set aside, but we'll start with these two. Let's start with this detail wire. I get to use another fancy homemade contraption. I don't know what it was used for, but I know what I use it for now. Uh-oh. I'll tighten it down in this as much as I can. I know I'm going to lose that little bit, but I always put this right at the end and I curl it over because you want to have tension as you're twisting it. Makes it so much easier. Okay, while I have this one out, I'm going to make our jump rings. Take this little steel rod and put it in here. And I have my bit of wire that's going to be our jump rings. I have it bent, so when I stick it in to the space between the chuck teeth, it will hold on to it a little bit. This particular rod is a little too big for what I would prefer on the inside diameter once the rings are made, but so far the smallest one that I have, so it'll have to do for now. More than I need for this project, but we can use the rest later. Cool. Now I got my twisted wire for my detail. It's a little thick for what is going to be used all in this process. For backing plate is very thin, and the bezel is going to be very thin. This could have been a little thinner, but we have our detail wire. We have our jump rings. Now we can start on this. Our bezel wire. I'm going to take each one of our stones that we're going to use, and I'm going to measure how tall they are as they sit. And then we can cut each bezel out based on how tall each one is. Start with this one. And I'm going to mark it all the way down. Now I can cut it out. I'll do the other one too. Now that we have both of those cut, I know that this one here is for this stone and the other one is for this stone. So I'm going to keep these two separate. Make sure I know where they go. And I'm going to start on one of them and make the bezel for it. All I have to do is take this piece that I've cut and wrap it around it and make sure it fits nice and snug and solder it together. So I'm going to do both of those real quick. Cool, I've got both of these done. Now I gotta clean them up. Then we can add them onto our back plates. Now that they're added to the back plate, I can start on my detail wire. Because this is so thin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stone in there, and because it fits nice and neat and really easy, it makes it easier to wrap this around without bending the bezel because it is so thin. I'm going to do that with both of these, as well as adding in the jump ring I'm going to put at the top before I put the bail on. So let's do that. I've done that. Now it's time for the next bit. I'm going to have to cut these shapes out and then drill the hole out where I put my jump ring. Once that is done, I can clean everything up just a little bit more and start on the bales. And I'm going to have to clean this piece up. It's not completely straight on any line, so I'll just have to file it out a little bit before I cut it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a half measurement wherever I want it to be for the chain, and I'm going to drop it down at a triangular cut on both sides and then bend it right at the middle so I can put the thinnest point right through that jump ring. Let's cut them out. Now that those are cut out, I'm going to clean up all the nonsense that's still left over. I used 30 gauge for the backing and the bezel, which is pretty thin. I haven't worked with so much of a thin material so far, but I'm happy with this result. Let's clean up the rest of it. Could have done a little better, but that's okay. I'm happy with where they're at. Still much cleaning to do. A little bit of deburring on the backside, but that's alright. We're getting where we need to be. Now it's time for the bail. Reset. Alright, I'm going to mark it out. That'll be my half point on this top one. And one more so I know where I'm at. And then I'm going to cut it out and file it so it's nice and neat. So I can make that one line right here my middle. I'm going to do 2 of those and then cut them out. There's the 2 we'll need. Now that we have our center line this way, I need to find my center line this way. Then we can mark one last line as a triangle on both sides of these two pieces and then cut them out. So that way when I bend it dead center in the middle, there's 2 points on either end that will connect together for my last solder. Right, this is what we started with, and this is what we need. This one needs a little bit of cleanup. That's okay. Poorly saw cut. It's going to need some fine tuning down at the end of this, so that way when I bend it at the middle point and use it for a bail, it's going to fit through this jump ring nice and easy. Make sure it moves fluidly. Let's get the rest of this cut. There's the two we need. Maybe a little more fine tuning right at the point, but that's okay. Hopefully we get a nice last final solder on these. Once that's done, we clean everything up where it needs to be, and then we can set our stones. Oh yeah. My final solder was no good for this one. I soldered the bail to the rest of it, and I noticed that it's gonna break off right where I put the jump ring. It has too much flexibility in it. Even though it is a small piece, it shouldn't be too much of a worry, but this one came out not bad. Moves around, nice and soldered. Now it's time to cry about this one, but finish this one up. Let's clean it all up and then put our stone in. Well, there's a mostly clean up and set. All I gotta do is polish it up and call it done. I am kind of sad about the other one that I've messed up on, but that's part of learning. I'm really not liking very tiny stuff, but that's jewelry making for you. So far this has been the smallest of things that I have made. I always said if I can make it big, I can make it smaller. And this is proof of that. I'm happy with it. Next.